What page in the book?
We're going to get there. All right. Good morning and welcome to class number 7 of this beautiful, beautiful course that I have been on such a journey on. And I hope you have enjoyed this just as much or a little bit as much as I have, because I have gained so much and learned so much. And so this is our final class of the Well Connected series. Stay tuned. The next year's course is they're preparing where we're getting everything ready. It's actually going to be a course about the Tanya. And I am so excited next year. So excited to explore that with you, because I learned just as much, I think even more than you do when I learned these classes. So I'm just so excited. Leslie, sorry.
Course on what next
Tanya,
year?
the Tanya.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It'll begin probably like after the holidays, probably like a little before Hanukkah is usually when I start. But just a heads up to know that it's coming. So let's dive right into today's class. You don't have to open your books yet. I have a question for you all, and I want to hear your answers. What do you view as your life's purpose? What is your purpose for your life? What do you view? Think, and then feel free to call it out on screen, or the ones in person, feel free to call it out.
I would say, in my case,
yes,
I would put it in one word, which is teach.
Teach.
But teach, not just language or whatever, is just help people grow in different aspects.
I love it. Anybody else? Anyone else want?
My family.
Raise your family. I love that. Yes, raise your family. Michelle, go ahead.
Similar to the first one, who I don't know who was speaking, but I see my purpose in life is being in partnership with God, to serve God in whatever ways that shows up here on earth, to serve other people, but in that, with that in mind.
I love it. Anyone else want to chime in? Okay, so before we kind of dive into today's class, I wanted to play you a song that'll really be, you'll see the lyrics are printed on the screen, so just follow along and listen to what it means. It's a beautiful song. It's composed by a composer named A.B. Rottenberg. He's a very famous composer in the Jewish world. And it's it's a conversation between God and a soul.
Mm-hmm.
And just a little glossary for those who may not be familiar. Just going to explain. Neshama or neshamala is a soul. Neshamala is like saying, like, you know, bebele, like that kind of thing. Good morning, Shira. A neshama is a soul. A malach is an angel. We have a seat for you right there. A malach is an angel. And kedusha means holiness. So those are the 3 words that I just wanted to give a quick translation to. I'm going to share the screen and share the sound, and I want to hear your thoughts about what you think here. So give me a second. Optimize for sound, optimize for video clip. Hold on. Where did I put the link? Give me a second, ladies, while I find things on my computer.
Is this one of your kids' shoes?
You know what, it was, but it didn't fit them very well, which is why it looked so brand new. It was one of my like upsetness that it didn't fit them so well. Okay, one second. We're
tried out a couple of your girls.
Of course, you have to.
Yeah.
Ladies, I'm sorry. Give me a second. I think I lost it, so I'm gonna have to find it.
Okay.
Good thing we have YouTube.
Yeah. What's the song?
Neshamala.
Neshamala.
Yes, here it is. If anyone speaks French, they translate it in
You
French
see this
too.
app right here? It's called Audible. Using just this little app on my phone, I was able to replace my full.
Nice.
So look at the words and see what they mean here. It's going, it's the. This is God speaking to the soul. Now this quiet part is like the soul's journey through the life. Very famous song. It's beautiful. You ever heard it before? Never heard it? I'll send you the. It's a beautiful song. But he's a very, very, very talented composer. He has very beautiful songs.
conversation.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Have any of you ever heard that song before?
So maybe.
Oh, one second. Apparently YouTube is still talking.
Shayna,
Yes.
may I just dedicate today's learning? My mother's yortzeit today, and I'd like to
Of course.
dedicate today's learning to Shayna Bas Mordechai. May
Yes,
her
this
soul
class is
have an aliyah.
dedicated in the memory of Shayna Bas Mordechai. And as you'll see in this class, I literally can't think of a more appropriate class to be dedicated. And you'll see why very, very soon. So ladies on Zoom, were you able to hear the song?
Yes.
See everything?
beautiful.
Okay. So as we see here, against our will, we are brought into this world, and against our will, our soul is taken from this world. We don't want to go because it's so good up there. And then when we come down here, eventually we buy into the mission of what this beautiful life is down here. And then we don't want to go back up. So just keep this in your mind, kind of percolating as we dive right into the lesson. So as we ask first, what's our purpose? What do you view as your life purpose? But the question is, and I know we've discussed this many times in previous classes, why are we here in this world?
Exactly.
And there's really two basic answers. Number one, and we know we're here to make the world a better place, and also to make ourselves better people. That's really why we're here. And a lot of things fall under that umbrella. But that's really why we're here. And our journey is really of a body and a soul working together, because each one cannot work alone. They need to work together, and they each need the other to accomplish. So in the previous lessons of this course, we're now in course 7, so in class 7, so in previous 1 through 6, we've really discussed a lot of mitzvahs. That really is the body connecting to the soul level, and how we can connect and kind of improve the world and improve ourselves. Today, we're kind of going to go a little bit of a different route. We're going to look at life through your soul's perspective. Okay, that's what we're going to do. We're kind of just going to flip it on the other end. And each soul has a very special song, because each soul is unique and a gift from God, and each person, and it really makes each person unique. And each soul really gives us a different, has a different tune and a different song. And it's really our job to kind of lean in and discover, what is my soul's special song? And we're going to look at that through the milestones of life. And then hopefully we can hear the tune. So the question is, when does our mission in life start? So, sorry, ladies, I'm going to use our little props today. Our mission in life starts when we are born. Cute little shoes, right? They never fit my baby. I'm still upset about it. I mean, how cute are these? I found them, I bought them, and they never fit her properly. Her feet just didn't fit. You can stick that back. Okay, so the first step at our mission is at birth. A child is born. Physically, the child becomes a separate being. It's not in the mother's womb anymore. And spiritually, the soul begins its mission, because without the body, without a physical body here alone, it can't accomplish anything. That can only be done with the help of the body. And as while the baby is in utero, the child is taught the whole Torah. And then there's ancient lore. I don't have any source for it, but it's just something we've always heard our whole lives, is that before the child is born, the angel presses over here. You see that little indent we have in our lip? Yes. Presses over here, and that's when the child forgets the Torah. But the point is that we should have, like, kind of when we're learning Torah throughout our life, it's kind of like the second time around. So the second time around should be a little bit easier. And interestingly, and we see how much influence, how much a child in utero can see. And I see, science is catching up. We play Beethoven to our babies while we're pregnant. We're taking them to classes, so they should get this and that. And from a spiritual perspective, and it's something I always grew up with, and it's something I tried to do when I was pregnant with my children, is that I always try to surround them with holiness. Be it playing Jewish songs, not going to places that don't have holy things, really being conscious of the fact that I have a Jewish child growing inside of me, and really being conscious of that and trying to surround them with beautiful, positive, and spiritual things. And we know even in scientifically, children can hear music, children can taste things, they can feel their mother's mood. If a mother is very stressed, that's no good for a baby, and all of that. So it really kind of ties in, and we see science kind of catching up. We've known this for thousands of years, but science is kind of catching up. A beautiful tradition that we have is that when a Jewish mother is giving birth, she carries with her a chapter of Tehillim called chapter 1. Sorry, my filter's a little weird. Chapter 121. And they make them on these cute keychains, because what I do is, and what we do is that when a mother is in labor, she'll keep this near her. I usually pack them in my little suitcase that I have with me. And that's to protect the mother and the child while the mother is giving birth. And then once the child is born, we clip these to their crib, to their car seat, and it's kind of like a spiritual layer of protection. And whenever a mom has a new baby in our community, I always try to give them one of these, and they hang in my house, like by my front door and by the room where the baby sleeps. And then I clip them in all of their, like where they sleep. And like when in the hospital, it's a little one clipped in a little bassinet. And this special chapter of Tehillim, Psalm 121, is a very special extra spiritual layer of protection that we want to give our babies when they're little. So we know that when a parent has a child, there are three partners in creation. Have you ever heard that? There are three partners in creation. There's the mother, there's the father, and there's God. Those are the three partners in creation. And what we can do here when we birth our children is we become partners in the infinite. I mean, literally, a baby comes from nothing. It's like, I always say, it's the most amazing miracle I've ever seen, that a child literally comes from nothing and a beautiful baby is born. And really, we have our third partner in that. And we kind of have that way to connect on the infinite to him. And when we are born, what does that mean? It means that God chose you. Not her, not her, not her, you. He chose you. Your birthday is the day that God said, this world can't exist without Evelyn, can't exist without Sheila, without Shira. This is the day that the world needs you. And it's a really big deal. Because only you and only me and only everyone else has something they specifically can add to the world. And I know we've discussed this in previous lessons, that it's not good just to want to be like somebody else, because somebody else's mission is not my mission. God decided I needed to be here. There's a reason I am here. And that day, it's kind of like your birthday is your soul's like special holiday. Like your birthday is your special holiday, because the world couldn't exist without you. And that is why you're here. And if you look at those who have the book or the PDF, you'll notice, and I'm not going to go through them during the class, but you'll notice the book has a lot of shaded in gray areas. And that's just going to give us different customs that we do for birthdays and for this and for that, for marriage and stuff like that. And you can give it a read. It's very interesting. I learned a thing or two that I hadn't known. So it's an interesting read, and I hope you can enjoy that. So ladies, after this class, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be sending a follow-up email, and I'll tell you more about it. But one of the things I'm going to do is, if you want, because some people don't like to share their birthday or their birth year, no pressure, no nothing. But if you would like, I would love you to share with me the day you were born. Like I'm born on December 8th, 1986, and I was born during the daytime. So let me know if you're born by day or at night, if you know. Because as we know, in the Jewish calendar, the next day starts at night. So if you're born at night, your birthday is the following day. And I would love to go and search. There's a website you can search your birthday. And I would love to give you a birthday certificate that tells you your Jewish birthday. So you know when to celebrate it every year, because it's a very special day. It's a day. You matter. God says you matter. Birth is God saying you matter. And I think it's a very special thing to do. So look out for the email, and I'll probably send it on the WhatsApp group as well. So the first step in the body and the soul fusing together happens at birth. And each step, as the child gets older, the soul and body fuse closer together. So we know the first is at birth. And the second one is when the baby gets named. So girls get named at the first possible time. Actually, no, the girls get named when, oh, there's a fly driving me crazy. The girls get named at a time when we read the Torah. We read the Torah on Mondays, Thursdays, and Shabbat. So really, generally, we try to name the baby girl at the next Torah reading. So if a baby's born on Sunday, we'll name her Monday. If a baby's born on Wednesday, we'll name her Thursday, etc., etc. And if you open your book, let's turn to page 176. Michelle, do you mind reading? You're the first one in my screen.
I do not mind reading, but before I read, I have one question. Would you mind reading? Because I don't have it memorized. What is Psalm 121?
I will send it to you after the class.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Remind me.
All right. Text 1. Some have the custom to festively celebrate.
No. It's actually page 176, text number 3.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Before a soul enters a body, it is not referred to with any name whatsoever. The soul itself has no need for a name, nor does a lifeless body have any use for a name. The name's function is to join the soul with the body. The vitalizing energy that emanates from the soul to provide the body with life is rooted in the name.
Thank you. Interestingly, I wasn't planning to share this, but I'm looking at your book now and I see here you have what's in a name on page 177. And I've always found this so interesting. If you look at the name Alexander. So when ancient Israel submitted to Alexander the Great, he requested that an idol, a sculpture, be erected in him. And Jewish law does not allow idols. So they had a problem. So the high priest had a suggestion. He goes, let us not put up a statue of you that will last however long this lifetime is. Let us name, our baby boys that are born, because that will kind of live on forever. And baby boys at that time were named Alexander. The name Alexander to this day is a Jewish name. My nephew's name is Alexander. And it's so amazing to see the evolution of names. I always found Alexander fascinating. And then let's turn to page 179, and you guys can go back and read all the little gray notes later on, just we don't have time in the scope of this lesson to do everything. So we're going to go to text number 4. Evelyn, do you mind reading? Sure.
כאשר נולד האדם וקוראים לו אביו ואמו שם אחד העולה בדעתם, אינו באקראי ובהזדמן, כי אם הקדוש ברוך הוא משים בפיו, השם הוא מופרח אל השמיים.
Thank you. So when a parent should select the name of their newborn child, it's not random. God places in their mouths the name that is essential for that particular soul. It is known that naming your child, it's like prophecy. It is like a known thing. It's a prophecy that parents have. And I'm sure you'll meet many people in life who their parents just had a feeling or what their name should be. It's a prophecy. And the prophecy is that the soul needs that name to kind of assume the character in its body. So generally, we name our children either after someone we love, after someone we respect, or just a name that we really like. Ashkenazim have the custom to name after someone who has already passed, while Sephardic Jews have a custom to name after someone who's still alive. It's like a great honor. And so it's interesting, like of my children, my first son is Mordechai. Mordechai is named after Label's grandfather. My daughter, Bracha Mushka. Bracha means blessing. We hope that she'll bring us lots of blessing, but her second name is Mushka. Mushka was the name of the Rebbitzin, of the Rebbe's wife. Her name was Chaya Mushka. My next daughter is Chasia. Chasia was Label's mother, who passed away, unfortunately, very young. And my fourth child is Nechama, who's named after my grandmother. And it means so much to me to have, I loved my grandmother, and it means so much to me, and to see the personalities actually are pretty similar. It's pretty funny. And it's interesting because we laugh. We say all the Chasias have a certain personality, and my mother-in-law was a very strong personality. And it's so weird because all the Chasias are forces to be reckoned with. So it's very interesting to see what's in the name. I'm sure you've seen that throughout your life. So so a girl gets named by the Torah, which hopefully will be Monday, Thursday, or Friday, or if it's a holiday or Rosh Chodesh, if they during the week, we name them at a Torah reading. And a boy gets named at his Brit Milah, at his circumcision. And what is a Brit Milah? It's a milestone. It's when the covenant of God is imprinted on his body. There's no other mitzvah like it. What is a covenant? We've all heard the word. It's a very fancy English word. What is a covenant? It's a covenant is a bond between two parties that defies logic. Because if we have a bond that is based on logic and reason can change with time and with whim, and it's not such a strong bond. But if I have a bond that is above logic and above reason, and it's just pure devotion, and it's unconditional, that is like the strongest bond. So a Brit means covenant, and a Milah means circumcision. Even though we say I'm going to a Brit, really the Brit is the covenant and the Milah is the circumcision. And why do we do it at such a young age? We do it when a baby is 8 days old. Why do we do it so young? Because we want to do it when a child is oblivious. This is above logic. It's above reason. The child's devotion to God is not based on rational acceptance of Hashem. It's based on the fact that he is a Jew, and no matter what, he's inherently bound up with godliness, with the Torah, with Judaism. And it's a permanent physical act. It's there forever. It's imprinted on our body and our soul. And spiritually, it helps us with something we have to work on, because we know that everything physical has a counterpart in spiritual. And spiritually, it helps us because we know throughout life, we can get caught up. Life gets busy, it gets boring, it gets this, it gets that. We kind of can turn cold. It happens. And it kind of creates like a barrier inside of our heart. So we are told to circumcise the barrier of the heart. And the physical Brit Milah, the physical covenant of the circumcision, helps a person attain this spiritual thing. So now I hear all of you asking, well, what about the girls? So if you go back a little bit to text number 2 on page 175, and I'll read it because it's one line. The Talmud writes, a woman is considered naturally circumcised.
Where? Sorry.
Text number 2 on page 175. Women are born without this spiritual obstruction, and we naturally possess this connection between body and soul. We know that women are generally more spiritually in tuned, and we'll even go a little further than that in the class, but we are more spiritually in tuned, and women are born naturally circumcised. Any questions? You know what,
How lucky we are.
we are very lucky.
Well, we have the extra.
Exactly. We have the lecture, and we're going to discuss that soon. All right. Any questions before we move on to the next stage?
Isn't there a sense though about circumcision, another reason why you're paying this too?
That could be a side reason, but the main, just like
the main
the main reason,
but
it's a
that's not-
covenant between God and this
that's
Jewish
what it
person.
is.
And so at a baby naming, either at the Torah or the Brit Milah, is when that child gets that next step of the soul and body fusing closer together. Any questions, comments before we move on?
I'm just saying, you know, a lot of the Notzrim goyim, you know, that they do
Yeah.
Brit Milah,
Yeah.
like
Well, they
to
call
a
it,
doctor. Or
Yes,
something,
yes.
whatever, because they think it's like healthy or whatever.
listen, there's lots of,
Yeah,
there's
kosher.
meaning we keep
Yeah,
kosher,
healthy,
we
yeah.
keep kosher. Why? We keep kosher. Kosher is a chok. We keep kosher because
Right.
Hashem said to. Are
Right,
there
right.
benefits? Maybe, but that's not why we do it. Are there benefits for a Brit Milah? Maybe, but that's not why we do
Yeah,
it. We do it because
because-
Hashem told us to.
Besides
is
all the
healthier.
goyim
Yeah.
that have it, they don't have all the ritual and all the blessings.
Right,
Yes.
right. I know.
So it's
Yes.
just
They do it-
cutting.
Right. they
It's
do it in
something
the hospital.
medical,
Yes.
but it's not, they don't have the
Yeah.
shot, they don't have the
Right,
All right.
blessing.
So we're going to move on to the next stage in life. So we know that a child is compared to a tree. Just like when we plant a tree, we have to be so careful of the roots. We have to make sure it's planted well. We tend to it. We watch it. We put a fence around it. We hold it up with sticks. We really have to be very careful with a tree. And the same is true of a young child. And it's an interesting story. It's hot, right?
Yeah, very.
Okay. Give me a second, ladies. Now it got hot. 1 second.
I am melting. I am melting.
I'm very comfortable.
You're
I'm very,
comfortable. I
it's
am
finally not, it's always every time I'm good, everyone else.
A little compromise, just a drop, so they'll be comfortable.
Yes, just
Yeah, I
to
hate
drop
being
it
cold.
something.
Yeah, I don't hear it working. that's why.
No, yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Sure.
I know people, they go sleeveless and it's really cold, but we have body.
All right. Sorry, ladies. It was getting pretty warm in here. Good morning, Shterna. All right. So a child is compared to a young tree. And interestingly, parents came to a rabbi and said, you know, my child is 5 years old. What can I do to get them started on a Jewish education? And the rabbi said, you're 5 years too late. Because from birth, we want to surround our children with love and with holiness. And even for me, first of all, the first thing I put in my child's bassinet, even in the hospital, that little Tehillim, that little Psalm 121. I try to say Shema with my babies. We sing Jewish songs to them. We try to do all the prayers with them. As they get older, we introduce blessings. I laugh so hard because my Nechama just started lighting Shabbat candles. And so she makes the blessing and she goes, Shehakol Nihiyah Bidbaro, which is like the blessing you make on certain food because she's so used to making on that certain food. But at a very young age, we start giving our children this Jewish education. It starts from the minute they are born, because we know, and science even today shows us this, that the stuff that happens at very young makes a huge impression on a child in the later years. Those formative years are you can't wrap your brain around how important they are. And so as we get older, we introduce new mitzvot. And at age 3, a girl begins to light Shabbat candles. And for those of you who joined us a few weeks ago, not even a few weeks ago, my Nechama, my little one, turned 3 years old. And we had a beautiful ceremony here in the Chabad right before Shabbat, where we had Nechama light Shabbat candles for the first time. And it was a real celebration, because to have a little girl begin this tradition of lighting Shabbat candles is a big step in her Jewish education. And if anybody wants, you didn't get, I'm happy to send you the little video that we shared.
Okay.
And it's very sweet. And she is so excited because, as we know, fire especially, children, when they watch their mothers light Shabbat candles, it makes a huge impression. First of all, it's fire, like, hello, for sure. But it makes a huge impression on them. And what we're telling our little girls is, it's not enough that mommy needs to bring light into the world. We now need your light. We need your light that only you, with your special soul, can offer to the world. And we're teaching her that from a very young age. And my little girls now, every week, it's the most beautiful thing to have a little girl on each side of me lighting Shabbat candles. It truly warms my heart. It's a good moment. And a boy at the age of 3 is when we cut his hair for the first time. It's called an upsharon. Today's Lag BaOmer. Can't think of a more appropriate day, right? We begin cutting their hair at age 3 because, just like a tree Sorry, ladies, it's very hot. I'm a little sweaty. As just like a boy when he turns 3, I think it's our hot drinks.
Yeah.
A boy when he turns 3, just like a tree, we wait 3 years until we cut the hair. This is not something that applies to girls. It's something that applies to boys. And this is his formal beginning to educate, Jewish education. He begins wearing a yarmulke. He begins wearing tzitzit. And this is the formal beginning of a Jewish education. Obviously, the informal has been going on since the moment they were born, the formal education of a Jewish child. And this is also a time when the body and the soul are kind of fusing even more together. So we know that our souls have 2 parts in them, right? We have our animal soul, which is more self-oriented, and we have our godly soul, which is obviously wants to do whatever God wants. And children are obviously more animal soul oriented. It's just the stage in life. Children are more self-oriented. Your baby will wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. They don't care if you need to sleep and you're tired. I need my diaper changed. I need a diaper. I need a bottle now. They don't care. That is what children are. Children are inherently self-oriented, which makes total sense. And that is why children aren't held responsible for their actions, because their godly soul is not dominant yet. And that changes when they hit their next milestone. What is their next milestone? Their bar or bat mitzvah. That is what happened. And that is when they are now able to understand more and be more with the 2 souls kind of equally dueling for attention, let's just say. And now we know the godly soul has much more traction in the child's soul, and they are pretty fully merged right now. So now we know that we have 2 judges inside of us, and they're pretty equal. We have our self-oriented, our animal soul, and we have our godly soul. They're kind of, little ones on each shoulder, and they're kind of going, do good, do bad, do good, do bad. And we kind of have to always deal with that throughout our whole lives. It's actually a very central part of what Tanya teaches us, and I can't wait to explore it more next year with you guys. I'm very excited. So this marks a huge milestone, a bar mitzvah. We have the picture of the tefillin right there. But I meet many people throughout my life, throughout my role as a rebbitzin here at the Chabad, and so many people say, I never had a bar mitzvah, I never had a bat mitzvah. And one thing I always tell them is, you never had a party. You didn't have the party. You maybe never have put on tefillin, but you did have a bar or bat mitzvah, depending if it's a woman or a man, because it happens automatically. You turn 13, you turn 12, boom, your bar or bat mitzvah. It happens. Now, obviously, we want to celebrate this special occasion because a bar or bat mitzvah is a huge milestone in a person's life. It's a huge milestone for the Jewish people. We want to celebrate it, but it happened. Whether you had a party or you didn't, it happened. And interesting, a person who converts, when they convert, they kind of reach that bar or bat mitzvah stage. That's where they hit right then and there. And it's really a personal kind of receiving of the Torah at Mount Sinai for that person. And a bar mitzvah for a boy means that he's now able to be counted as part of a minyan. He can wear tefillin. He can make an aliyah. For a girl, it means that she can now be trusted to keep kosher in a home. She's be trusted to do all the boy and girl are now trusted to do all the mitzvot in the Torah. They are considered as adults. Now, what does that mean? Obviously, they're not adults. They're still children and they can't do everything, but this is the beginning of that stage. The teenage years are the beginning of that stage where they can be counted as adults and they can really have the soul capacities to really be able to do that. There's a beautiful story about a boy who went to the Rebbe before his bar mitzvah, and the Rebbe asked him, so tell me, what do you like to do? And the boy said, I love playing sports. I play with my friends and we always have these games. So the Rebbe asked, so what does it mean when you go see the professional sports? He goes, oh, Rebbe, that's different. That's the big leagues. The Rebbe said, guess what, my dear? You are now part of the, I didn't say my dear, guess what, little boy? You are now part of the big leagues. This is the big leagues, guys. This is it. And we're so excited as fellow Jewish people to welcome a member to our big leagues team, because as we know, we need all the help we can get. So it's a very special time in a boy or a girl's life. And it's very important for us as parents, as grandparents, as cousins, as aunts, as friends, to have an effect on a child throughout these formative teenage years. Because it's very easy to talk the talk, right? It's very easy to say, don't forget, you got to make Jewish friends, marry Jewish, do this, do all the good things. But if they don't see you actually living the life, expanding your Torah knowledge, going to shul, having holiday meals, doing Shabbat, if they don't actually see you doing that, talk, like we say, talk is cheap. But when we walk the walk and when we show the children, in this case, teenagers who are still children, and obviously to our younger children as well, when we show them how important Judaism is to us, I'm sorry. Now you're cold.
Well, there's a speck.
I'm sorry.
It's too much.
Okay, we'll
Just
try
a
to fix it
draw.
soon. When we show them how important Judaism is to us, that has the biggest effect on a child that there can be. And we show them that we are kind and moral and decent people, in addition to keeping all the Torah and mitzvos. That is the biggest gift you can give to a child to guide them in their teenage years as they kind of figure out who they are and mold them into adulthood. Any questions on this section?
Oh, but I like reading the scroll. That's really good. Has some humor, but
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. But one of the things was, we all have the good and evil inclinations.
Yes.
But the thing is, with the question mark is, which one is going to win out? And I think that's very good. I am totally believe that, that we have control over our mind. We make choices, and some people just get stuck in their ways. It's so much easier to keep doing the same thing. But as you know, if you keep doing the same things, why should you expect a different result?
This is true.
So it's really about, like people clean their house, but they don't clean their head. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Right. You have to, clean it out. You can put new stuff in there and maybe the stuff that you don't use. Or I think one of the things is when we're younger, as you talk about, have the Jewish when you're younger, when it's the most formative years. But a lot of times parents, they mean well, but they often sometimes label our children or give information that really isn't true. Unfortunately.
We're human.
Well, it's
Yeah.
true. I would agree with that. But things change. We have different outlooks about certain things. And sometimes we grow up and we have these stigmas because we always believe our parents. But sometimes the information really is not correct. And they themselves may have some bias. Or different
Sure,
things.
we're only human. We all,
Yeah.
whether we like it or not, we live in the real world, and the real world gives us biases, and it just is what it is. Part of our struggle in life.
Right. So that's why, some of the information in there, gotta do some cleaning. there.
Exactly. Got to bring out that broom, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
Before we move on, one section I forgot. So a lot of people have the question, and I think also I don't. Some people think that a girl and a boy turn bar mitzvah at the same age, which is 13, but that's actually not true. A girl turns bat mitzvah at the age of 12, and a boy turns bar mitzvah at the age of 13. So if you turn to text number 5 on page 181, Leslie, do you mind reading for us?
No problem. What is Rabbi Yehuda, the prince's rationale for insisting that females reach the age of mental maturity a year before males? It is due a truth alluded to in the verse regarding the creation of Eve. God built the side that he had taken from the man into a woman, Genesis 2.22. The verb vayiven, built from bana, teaches us that God gifted woman with a greater measure of understanding, bina, than he did men. Wow. Okay.
So who is it? Michelle, were you saying that before? So it's interesting. If anyone has children or has ever taught teenagers, I think it's pretty safe to assume that in general, because obviously stereotypes don't fit everybody, but in general, girls tend to mature a little earlier than boys. It's just a fact of life. And that is why a girl gets this honor and gets this responsibility a year earlier than boys for that simple reason. And interestingly, a woman is blessed with an added level of called bina. Bina means understanding, as we see here. And that's why women are more intuitive. And I think we can see that mostly in our lives, that women have a more of an intuitive understanding. And that's probably why we have a lot more of the roles that we do. But I think this is just a beautiful explanation about why that happens. All right, so the next milestone in our lives, as we leave the teenage years, we're on our little journey, ladies, and we're moving along. We had our yarmulke, our candlestick for when the child turns 3. And now we did our bar mitzvah, we have our tefillin, and now we're gonna move on to a Jewish marriage. So if you turn to page 182, figure 7.1, just a little graph just to show you the soul of celebration, and you can take a look at it. You can read that yourself. So the next milestone in life is the Jewish marriage. After creating Adam, what did God say? God declared that it is no good for man to be alone, and I will make a helpmate opposite him. And thus Eve, Chava, was created. And when a man and a woman get married, the soul gains a partner and a helpmate in marriage. Think of it as a puzzle piece that kind of found its match. And there is something very special and very beautiful about that. And the wedding day is considered a very, very, very holy one, because really it's like a reenactment of when the Jewish people received the Torah at Mount Sinai, which is when God, the groom, married us, the Jewish people, the bride. And a lot of the customs that we do at a wedding are reminiscent of what happened at Mount Sinai. So we get married under the sky, right? A chuppah is generally erected under the sky. Why? It's symbolizing God's blessing to Abraham that his descendants will be as numerous as the stars. We want that. That's what we're blessing this couple with. It's also a symbolization that the couple should establish a home that is heavenly and spiritual. And if you look at text number 7, this is a very interesting thing. If you ladies haven't heard this before, I think you'll find it very interesting, and I'll just read it out loud. As it's on page 184. As the Jews stood at Mount Sinai, the men and the women arranged separately. God instructed Moses, go to the Jewish women and ask them whether they wish to receive the Torah. God knew. He said to Moses, go speak to the women first. Speak to them first, because if they agree to it, we know the men will follow. And that is exactly what happened. And that is what God spoke to. Moses spoke to the women first and asked them if they would like to receive the Torah. And that is what happened, because we know that men intuitively trust the intuition and the bina and understanding of the women. And that is what happened. So if you turn the page to, and then you'll see here, there's lots of gray things for you to read through. And I think you'll appreciate that very much. If you go to text number 8, on page 185, Sheila, do you mind reading?
Yes. There's also taught that the Torah itself is like the wedding in which God married Israel. Revelation of Sinai, where God gave the Torah to Israel, is said to be like a wedding. Torah is like a ring. It is endless. As soon as one finishes, one must begin again. Each time one studies a Torah lesson, one gains new insights. Torah is therefore like a wedding ring, a circle without beginning or
Exactly. So why a wedding ring? Number one, for sure, we know a wedding ring is a physical, very visual mark that I am married. That's number one. I am married to someone, but also a wedding ring is a circle, the circle of life, the circle of Torah. It's endless. It's always beginning, always ending. It's a circle of life. And that is why we do a wedding ring. And if you look at figure 7.2, I'll just read it really quickly, just because it's interesting. We have wedding tradition and parallel at Mount Sinai. So a match, usually a match is done by a shadchan. It could be a matchmaker, it could be a friend, somebody who introduced you. Moses was the matchmaker between God and Israel. Usually a wedding is held in a bride's hometown. You ever wondered about that? The giving of the Torah occurred here on earth, in our hometown. The escorts of the bride and groom hold candles. There was beautiful, awesome lightning accompanying giving the Torah. A glass is broken beneath the wedding canopy. We do that, we know, remembering Jerusalem, but Moses broke the tablets. Bride and grooms are entertained with some somersaults. This is that which was up came down, God descended, and that which was down went up, Moses went up. Marriage is effected with the ring. God betrothed us with the Torah, which is akin to the circular form of a ring. So it's a beautiful, very interesting concept. And I'll take this moment to wish Leah a mazel tov, because very soon she is having a wedding. So mazel tov, Leah. We're very excited on this beautiful occasion that is happening very soon for you.
Thank you, Shana.
She's on the screen. That's Leah. Yeah. Okay. And what the beautiful thing is, as we talk about partners and helpmates, so I always think of like my husband and I as partners, because there are certain things that he can do that I can't, certain things that I can do that he can't. And I always say, you know, sometimes when he has to run minyan and I have to be home with the kids, that's our partner. I'm getting the zechut, the honor of his davening with the minyan, while he gets the zechut of me partnering with the children. Or like for the label is a kohen. So a kohen is not allowed to go to run a funeral or go to the house of someone who is a dead body is there. So a lot of times I've done that when he cannot go. So I always say we share the zechut, we share the honor. The partner does what the other cannot do, and that's really the beautiful partnership of what a Jewish marriage is. And as special as a wedding day is, and a wedding day is very, very special, nothing obviously is more important than the marriage itself. And a marriage requires cultivation by both parties. And the first 12 months are very important time to lay the foundation, as we well know. And if you look at text number 9 on page 187, it is written, when a man weds a new wife, he shall not go out to the army, nor shall he be conscripted for any war effort. He shall be absolved of all duties so that he can remain home for 1 year and delight his wife for whom he has taken. And that is something that's known as called Shana Rishona, the first year. And it's a special time couples try to remain together, not travel too far apart, because the first year of marriage is a really critical time to build the foundation that is going to last, God willing, for many, 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 many years to come. And what the beautiful thing is, the same thing happened at Mount Sinai. We know the Jewish people traveled for 40 years in the desert, but after the Jewish people got the Torah, received the Torah, and they stayed put for 1 year at Mount Sinai, as we do when we get married. Any questions before we move on? Oh, and wait, ladies, before I move on, hold on.
They stayed.
They stayed
1
camped.
year?
They
1
stayed
year.
camped in Sinai. Yes.
I
I wanted to show you some things of a Jewish wedding. I couldn't schlep my wedding album. I apologize because it is pretty heavy. And it's pretty delicate, and you're welcome to all come. So this is my own picture album.
Oh.
So I wanted to show you, I don't know how to get rid of this filter. Oh, I'm so not good at this. Okay, I wanted to show you some pictures of my wedding. Ah, okay.
Oh, it's hard.
Like it's, you have to do it. in the
Okay,
computer.
so as you can see here, there is label. Okay, one
Oh,
second.
there
Let me see. Can you
It's in the actual computer settings, not.
It's in the
like-
computer
not-
settings.
I don't think it's Zoom because
Oh, it's not Zoom.
like it's
Okay.
on, if you go into.
Okay, maybe you can see
The
here. As you
camera
can see here is Label and I both being walked down to the chuppah by our respective parents. So like the fathers are walking Label down, the mothers are walking me down. I'll pass this around if anybody wants to look. And if you look at the next page, I'm trying to get the angle right.
Like you have to go, if you go into your camera settings. on the
All right, we'll do
actual
that later.
computer.
Here you can see we are going under the chuppah. Okay. Many custom, there's many customs. Some the mother,
Yeah.
father walk down. The Chabad custom is this. There are many different customs. And as you can see, here are some pictures of us by our wedding
Yeah.
coming through. And yeah, happy to pass this around if anybody wants.
Yeah.
And you're all welcome to come one day and remind me. I'll show you my wedding album and explain the different customs that we see there. Yeah. There's many customs, yeah, very many different customs, but the parents escort them down, yes. Okay, so any questions before we move on? Comments, anything? So quiet on Zoom today. Ladies.
I remember my
Uh-huh.
2.5 days before Yom Kippur.
Oh, wow, okay.
And my husband, once he heard the war is on, like
The Yom
it
Kippur
was a
War?
mo- yeah.
Oh, wow.
After Shabbat, Sunday we still there, but Monday he couldn't wait and he had to go back to the army. And I didn't know that we are not allowed. He's not allowed to work.
Mm-hmm.
So
Did they
it
send him
was-
home? Or no,
No.
they needed him?
No, they needed
They needed
was-
it at that time, all hands.
He
So
was-
Evelyn is
Forget
saying
it.
that she got married
They
2-3
needed
days
everybody.
before Yom Kippur, and that was the year the Yom Kippur War broke out. And she's saying that her husband waited a day or two and he couldn't, and he ran to help the war effort. Wow.
45 days. in Sifra.
45 days.
Oh,
Wow.
He was in
Wow.
Sinai.
In Sinai.
Suez.
Wow.
Suez.
Suez. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Was
Yeah, a piece of
Yeah.
history.
I
I know. I'm
still
getting
remember.
I'm getting goosebumps right now.
Wow.
and I didn't know that.
This custom
Yes,
existed.
Yeah, because we study it in the Torah.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Okay. Thank you for sharing that.
I'm
That's a
sure
very
in Israeli army that- No, but he went.
It's
He-
the
during the war.
During the war.
Volunteer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's different.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't think the army.
All right. So any questions or comments before we move on? Any thoughts, insights, thumbs up, thumbs down? Just want to hear some feedback, ladies. Okay.
Can-
All right. So now we're going to move on to the next stage in life, which is obviously a difficult topic to talk about,
Yeah.
but I think it's a very important topic to talk about.
Which one?
And- Hold on, we'll give everyone a
No,
minute
she
here.
didn't say
Oh.
yet.
Oh, I thought you
She's
were
talking about the
saying-
next
So
step.
now we did birth, we did childhood, we did bar mitzvah, we did a wedding, and now we're going to move on to the last stage in life, to the next stage in life, not the last stage in life, the next stage in life. And it's obviously a difficult topic to talk about, but I think it's a very important topic to talk about, and a very important thing to discuss. And obviously, let's keep in mind that obviously it's the next step, but the most of life happens between the wedding and this next step. That is when the real life happens. And I think we've discussed this in all these past lessons, the mitzvot and the way we live our lives. That is life. That's what happens between after we get married as well and the whole adulthood until the day we return our souls to its maker. But I think it's a very important topic to talk about. Before I even go into this topic, I want to share two things. I'm going to share the second thing soon, but I want to share a little clip that someone sent. There is a very special man. His name was Rabbi Wallerstein. I'd never really heard of him until recently, I maybe in passing, but he apparently was a businessman who dedicated his life to helping others, and apparently he made tremendous strides in helping others. He was a very well-known person, a speaker. Unfortunately, he passed away a few weeks ago at a relatively young age, and I wanted to show a clip that was going around that I think really will help this to discuss this topic. So give me a second. Share screen. Here. Okay, 1 second.
Somebody came over to me a few weeks ago and said, Rabbi Wallerstein in Shul, I helped his daughter very much. He said, I'm Makana your Gan Eden. I'm Makana your Olam Haba, which means, Rabbi Wallerstein, I'm jealous of your portion in the next world. That's what he said to me. He said, it's a compliment. No, isn't that nice? I don't think so. I said to him, don't be jealous of my portion in the next world. You have no idea what I did as a kid. You don't even know if I have a portion in the next world. Don't ever be jealous of someone's portion. You don't know what I do behind the door. You don't know anything about me. But if you want to be jealous of me, you can be jealous of my Olam Hazeh, what I have in this world. He's like, you got a Range Rover? I'm like, nope, I got a Dodge. He says, what an Olam Hazeh? Like, you're into Olam Hazeh? I'm like, my Olam Hazeh is helping someone. My Olam Hazeh is not making money or driving a car. My Olam Hazeh is when I'm able to help someone, when someone says, you changed my life, you saved my life, make someone smile. I can't do that in the next world. I can't make nobody smile in the next world. I can't help anyone in the next world. I'm not interested in the next world. I don't serve Hashem for the next world. And the next world, for me, is a downer. Because in the next world, you sit and learn all the time in Yeshiva Shalmaila, and I'm ADD. What am I going to do? Right? I don't work for the next world. This world, you could help someone? Pshh. You can make an autistic kid smile? A Down syndrome kid smile? Your wife smile? Your parents smile? Somebody in the street smile? You could help someone through a crisis? Wow, that's amazing! Much bigger than the next world. Now, I didn't make this up. You can say, Rabbi Wallerstein, you're not Bikairis. I believe in the next world. But the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says, Yafa Shah Achas, 1 second in this world is greater than 1 second of good deeds and tshuva in this world is greater than the whole next world. I didn't say that. The Mishnah says that. I understand the Mishnah, because in the next world you can't do nothing. But here, you can give tzedakah, you can help people get married, you can make someone smile, you can give someone hope. Wow! You want to be jealous? Be jealous of this world. Be jealous of the next world.
You had to turn this off. Yeah, I'm happy to share everything. Yes. Okay.
I want to share it with
Yeah.
with a lot of
So this is
people.
actually I'm now, unfortunately after his passing, I'm seeing what an impact he made on the world and what a special person he was, and what he's saying is so
Wow.
it's so mind-blowing.
Yes.
Because we're here in this world to do something. That's what we're here for. And there is a beautiful, well, it's not a beautiful story. It's a very tragic story of one of our great sages during the time of the Romans. His name was Rabbi Hanania ben Teradion, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. And at that time, the Romans had banned all learning Torah. And he defied the Roman decree, and he would teach his students. And when he was discovered with a Torah scroll teaching Torah to his students, the Romans wrapped him up in the Torah scroll that he was teaching and burned him at the stake. And as he was being burned alive, his students said, Rebbe, what do you see? And he said, I see the parchment being consumed by fire, and I see the letters floating up to heaven. And the physical is physical, so it burned, but the letters were spiritual, so they went up to heaven. A person is made up of two parts, a body and a soul. A body can die, but the soul goes up, it returns to where it began, as we just saw in the song that we just learned. We've all lost people that we know, we've all lost people that we love, and it's a very difficult thing to understand and come to terms with and really understand. So I want to just go a little, we're going to tap a little bit into this. We're going to go to text A on page 188. Cheryl, do you mind reading text A? Just unmute yourself. 10A, 188.
Okay, okay, there we go. Those who are present at the moment that a soul departs are required to rend their clothing, for such an event is akin to the burning of a Torah scroll.
Thank you. I'm going to read text 10b. Nachmanides, I say it in Hebrew, the Ramban, of blessed memory, explained that when a body harbors a soul, it becomes like the parchment of a Torah scroll upon which God's sacred names are inscribed. And if you go to page 190 on text 10c, Barbara, do you mind reading it? Text 10c, page 190.
All who handle a corpse must be aware that they are handling a holy entity. The human body is not merely a container for something sacred, the spiritually exalted soul that it services. Rather, the body itself becomes sanctified with independent holiness, similar to a Torah scroll.
Thank you very much. So as we can see here, after a person passes away, their body is treated with great respect and dignity. We have something in Judaism called the Chevra Kadisha. This is the Jewish Burial Society, and this is what they do. And when a body is watched by something called a shomer, a guard, and that guard is with that body at all times, either reading Tehillim or just a guard is with that body until that person is buried. And I'm sure you've seen this in the news many times when there's a terror attack, and it can happen anywhere around the world. There's an organization in Israel called Zaka, and you'll see them. They wear these brightly colored vests. And what they do is, because every part of a Jew's body is so holy and so special, and unfortunately in terror attacks, things are not always so neat and clean. And what they do is they go around and they get every little bit of blood, every little bit of anything that could have gone anywhere, so that person is afforded a Jewish honorable burial. And if you turn to text 11 on page 191, Leah, you didn't read yet. Do you mind reading?
Okay, man was created in God's image, just as there is no difference between the utmost respect we must afford to a complete Torah scroll and a single letter that has been detached from a Torah scroll. So is it forbidden to show disrespect to even a single bone from sacred bodies created in God's image?
Thank you for reading. So this is why it is so important, and this is why Judaism has so much honor and respect for a Jewish body. And it is so because the body is compared to a Torah scroll. It is very holy, and it's a very special thing. And the Chevra Kadisha actually asks forgiveness from the body before, I believe, before and or after they work with this person, preparing them for burial. And they all have one day a year where the Chevra Kadisha fasts, that just in case they were disrespectful by mistake, they have a day where they fast. And I think they end it with a seudah, a meal. But it's to be part of the Chevra Kadisha is a job that is considered extremely holy, because they're doing something that is extremely holy.
There was a big issue with this, with Surfside.
Yes, yes.
Because they found remains.
Yes.
And they gave all the remains to one person, and then they found out that it was not the same person. There were parts of different. So they had to take her back. Their parents couldn't bury her. It was a whole thing. Yeah. So the suffering went on for days because they were found, but they had to put them together in order for them to be buried.
Okay.
It was terrible. Yeah.
All right. So this is why it is so upsetting in Jewish tradition for cremation. Oh. Cremation is a very upsetting thing in Jewish tradition because of this, because it is so painful for the soul not to be buried properly. And it's an uncomfortable topic, but it's something that Label and I come across unfortunately, very often in our line of work, is that if someone passes away and they did not make their wishes known, their children or whoever is taking care of them may not give them the proper Jewish burial that their soul so desperately needs and wants. And I remember Label once brought this up, I think in his Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur sermon, because it's something that eats at us. It's something that a soul needs that. And it's so important for a soul. And I always tell everyone, and I'm telling you ladies, that if God willing, we all have many, 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 many years ahead of us until 120 and beyond, but it is very important. And it's actually a segula, how do you say segula in English? I'll just say it's a thing. It's a thing for for a long life to actually make these arrangements, make sure your wishes are written down and well known clearly with whoever is your next of kin, that you wish to be buried according to Jewish tradition. It is such an important thing, and I cannot stress it enough. And it's something we are very passionate about because unfortunately we have seen this happen so often where the wishes were not known, and once that happens, there's not much you can do. We try. And obviously, if money is an issue, like we have raised so much here for different people, money should never be an issue to have a Jewish burial. The main thing is the soul should be able to have that peacefulness that it needs and deserves.
I have a question.
Sure.
Are you going to talk about the way, the burial?
No.
So my
That's
question,
beyond the scope of this. Yeah.
okay, my question is, I was in Israel a month ago. Unfortunately, I had to go to the cemetery to visit somebody. And they are not buried. They are in a wall. Why? Yes, Jewish Orthodox
I don't
cemetery.
know. You can ask the rabbi on the way out there.
But what about religion? There's nothing anymore, but they are in a wall. And it's an Orthodox. I have a picture.
Okay, we can ask the rabbi on the way out. This is beyond the scope of this lesson.
Okay.
So here's my question to you ladies. Is there life after death? Anyone, is there life after death?
Yes.
The answer is yes, and that's in two ways. First of all, we know that the soul lives on and has a relationship with its loved ones. So Michelle, when I was saying what a special day it is to dedicate to your mother's memory, what a special day, we're literally discussing this. Your mother's soul is gaining enjoyment out of seeing her daughter and all of these beautiful Jewish women learning Torah together. And once the soul leaves this world, it doesn't have the body anymore. It can't do Torah. It can't do mitzvot. It can't do good. It is our job here in this world to help that soul to do more. And that's, and I want to say, we are part of the Rosh Chodesh Society is part of a very large umbrella that operates all over the world. Chabad women all over the world are learning these beautiful, it's a course that we do all over. And we have WhatsApp groups and we discuss. And another Rebbitzin shared a story and it brings me chills. She said she had a woman come to her class and she was very, very emotional. So she said, what's going on? I hope I'm getting all the details right. The gist is the right detail. She said last night she had a dream. Her mother hasn't come to her in a dream for, if ever, but if not in many, many years. And she told her daughter, tomorrow you're going to Hannah's class. And I will be there. And she came to Hannah's class and she told her at the end of the class that there was something that she needed to learn that she had learned. But it just goes to show us how much the souls that have left this world are still very involved in our lives down here. And it's something always to keep in mind. And that's why we say we do mitzvot for them and we have a kiddush for their yahrzeit and we do mitzvot in memory of them because we want to elevate their souls. Now the question is, do Jewish people believe in hell?
Not hell as itself.
Exactly. So we believe in hell, but not in hell as you may have heard from other sources. Hell, Gehenna, is a cleansing process. It's to prepare for heaven. One of the reasons we actually say Kaddish for 11 months, really after a person passes away, is to help that soul during this time, if that is necessary. And just think of it this way, like just a way to understand. Imagine you had a whole day of work and you were filthy from working and your shoes are all dirty and your clothes are icky and they're work clothes and you show up at a wedding. Would you feel out of place? Of course you would. You'd want to go home, take a shower, put on your makeup, put on your beautiful clothes, right? And then you would feel in place at a wedding. We don't want to show up to heaven not dressed for the occasion. And this is what that cleansing process is for. It's not something that's forever. It's to prepare us for a beautiful, beautiful reward that waits in heaven. So we're going to turn to page number 12, and I'm going to introduce a concept to some of you. I'm sure some of you have heard of this, and I want you to hear this concept because it's a beautiful concept and one that gives us a lot of hope. So if we turn to text number 12 on page 192, and this is written by Maimonides, the Rambam. The resurrection of the dead, which is the Chiyat HaMesim, is a foundation of the Torah of Moses. One cannot maintain a connection to the Jewish religion without this belief. Have any of you ever heard of this concept? Just raise your hand. All right, so we got 2, 3, we got a few hands, not so many. Okay. All right, so a basic part of Jewish belief is Techiyat HaMesim, is the resurrection of the dead with the coming of Mashiach. The dead will come back to life in a physical body. We know that the body and the soul are partners. So they will enjoy the eternal rewards together. Now, it can sound a little crazy. I know that it can, but is it any crazier than creation in the first place? And in today's world with science cloning people and creating things out of DNA, we're kind of getting, like, we can understand it a lot more than maybe we could have 50 or even 100 years ago. We know that when Mashiach will come, that the stage will come where the people we have lost will come back to life in body and soul. And our whole course, right, we're on class number 7, our whole course was about doing mitzvot and refining ourselves and refining the world. But what is the point of that? What is the end game? What are we doing it all for? You ever thought about that? What are we doing all of this for? What are we working so hard to refine ourselves and refine our world? Why are we doing it? The end game is the coming of Mashiach, when the world will be so elevated and so full of revealed godliness, and when the body and soul are completely fused in pure holiness. And it's what we've been working on this whole time for all these thousands of years. And when it happens, the celebration will be immense. And the body and soul are shareholders. We've been working really hard for all of this. We're shareholders, and we're going to be part of that huge celebration that happens when Mashiach comes. And it's an interesting thing. We were thinking, like, what does it mean? We'll understand what the world will be like when Mashiach comes. It's so hard to wrap our brains around it when we live in this very physical world. So what I do is sometimes I think about my kids, for example, right? So you look outside, you see a palm tree, right? What sticks out on the top of the palm tree? A palm branch. What do my kids? Oh, mommy, look, a lulav. Right? I'm making bread. Oh, mommy, look, you're making challah. Okay, they take the things that seem so physical. That's just 2 examples. Another mom gave an example is that in New York they have this there's a concept that the Rebbe instituted called a mitzvah tank, where you kind of rent like a tractor, like a trailer, like an RV. An RV, and you go, and the boys would go out and they would drive and they would go on these RVs and go to Manhattan and everywhere else, and they would park at a street corner and go out and say, hi, excuse me, are you Jewish? Would you like to light Shabbat candles? Would you like to put on tefillin? And they're called mitzvah tanks. And so a child will see an RV and go, hey, mommy, look, a mitzvah tank, because that's what they think of. And when we take that beautiful message that we see our children do, and we see a very physical object, you go, oh, hey, look, it's something holy. It's a small taste of what it will be like when Mashiach comes, that we'll be able to see the holiness in everything, in the table, in the book, in the computer, in the phone. Everything will exude holiness, and that will be the coming of Mashiach. So let's go to text 13a and 13b, and I'm going to read this real quick because I know it's getting late. So after a person, when we visit someone during Shiva, what do we say to them? We say, may the omnipresent console you among the other mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. We actually discussed this in last class. Yes. Okay. So why do we mention Zion and Jerusalem when we're visiting someone who lost a loved one? And so if you remember last class, we discussed a letter that the Rebbe sent to Ariel Sharon, and it gave 2 beautiful explanations of why we do that. Let's look at a third one. The Rebbe writes, we have perfect confidence that God will rebuild the ruins of Zion and Jerusalem. He will gather the dispersed remnants of Israel from the ends of the earth through our righteous Mashiach, and he will bring them in gladness to witness of the joy of Zion and Jerusalem. We know with perfect certainty that God will bring Mashiach and Jerusalem will be rebuilt and we'll have our holy temple again. We know this. We are equally confident that the same is true about our personal bereavement. God will fulfill his promise that those who dwell in the dust shall awaken and joyfully sing, as it says in Isaiah. Great indeed will be the happiness and rejoicing then, when we will all meet together after the resurrection of the dead. And let today be a blessing very, very soon that we experience that, and there's no more sadness in the world. And I think it's so special that we're actually doing this class on today. Today is called Lag BaOmer. Today is a very special day in the Jewish calendar. It's a holiday. And Lag BaOmer is the 33rd day of the Omer. As we know, we're counting from Passover till Shavuot when we receive the Torah on Mount Sinai. We're on day 33 and we're heading to day 49 when we receive the Torah. But Lag BaOmer is a very special day because it is the yahrzeit of a very great sage called Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the Rashbi, some of you may have heard, and he is the author of the Zohar. And he was one of the 5 remaining students of Rabbi Akiva. And this is the day of his passing. And he said, on the day of my passing, I don't want it to be a sad day. I want it to be a joyous day. And today is a day where we go out in nature. We're going to have here later, ladies, if anybody wants to join us at 5:30, we're going to have a bonfire. We're going to have a barbecue. We're going to have music. We're going to have celebration. It's a day where the light of Kabbalah, because he wrote the book of the Zohar, is really very, very bright. And it's also a day where lots of blessings are from. Ladies, if you have something to pray for, today is a very special day. Very special things are lined up there, and it's a very special day to pray. And I can't think of a better day to teach this beautiful class. And let's hope that we experience the coming of Mashiach and all of the revealed goodness very, 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 very soon, because we desperately need it. So let's just do a quick recap. So we've done 7 classes so far. So our first classes, we talked about mezuzah. But before I do that, any questions or comments?
We have to wait for the Messiah to come. Or can we build a temple?
We cannot.
We can't.
No.
Nobody-
We can't force him into coming. No, and it's actually,
we can build out the temple before the Mashiach comes.
no, this is something that will happen with the coming of Mashiach.
When supposing you think he's gonna come?
We wait for him every moment of every day.
There is a, it's called the Temple Institute. It's in Israel. It's just 2 blocks away from the
I was there.
hotel.
Yeah.
And they are building and they are creating all the stuff for
Yeah.
the Kohanim and the
The
menorah.
designing? The
Yes, they
designing?
have it. They have it. I saw it with my own eyes.
Oh,
They
really?
already have it. They have it ready for when the Mashiach comes and the temple is there. They already have the clothes for the Kohen Gadol.
And where is it positioned?
It's in Jerusalem.
In Jerusalem, in all
Same
cities.
place?
All
Same
cities.
spot?
No, they have
No,
it like,
no,
they have like
no.
a storehouse.
It's like a
store-
place
yeah.
like 3 blocks away from the Kotel.
Oh, so it's not, well, because it's occupied, so they're gonna have to decide that.
When
they have to
Mashiach
build
comes,
some-
all of that will be resolved. There's a lot of meaning, it's a lot we don't know. This is something
Yeah.
that we don't know about, but we have perfect faith that it's going to happen, and it'll all be figured out in a way that is beautiful, and that's something that is one of the basic principles of the Torah and of Judaism.
Well,
been
we
to
never
that
know with
Yeah.
with the history, how things gonna work out. Right
Exactly.
Now, it's occupied, but.
Yep.
You know, many things
You know
have
it's
changed in
sinking.
Israel.
You know the mosque is sinking.
So ladies, we're getting on another tangent.
I'll tell you the-
Any questions on Zoom, ladies?
Yeah.
Comments?
That's it.
I'll let
You're
you
gonna
know.
All right,
have
so
to-
let's review real quick. All right, ladies, let's review, because I know some women have to go. All right, so in
When
class
she
number
finishes,
1,
I'll let you know.
we talked about mitzvot, and we talked about doing the mitzvah of mezuzah, and how all mitzvahs fall under the one umbrella of echad, of oneness, how we do everything. We remind ourselves of who we are and why we believe, and what we know, that whatever we are is all under God. The next class we talked about kosher, how physical food we eat can impact our soul. Excuse me. The next class we talked about blessings, the impact of words we use, and bringing godly into the mundane. Our 4th class was about bread, right? We made challah. We talked about gratitude and acknowledgement of our blessings and the source of where our blessings come from. Our 5th class was about prayer. What a beautiful class that was. We talked about connection, about having a coffee date with God. We're players in the world. We're not just pawns. And last class, we talked about kindness, how we're partners in creation. We are channeling God when we're doing kindness for other people. And today we discussed life cycles. Our soul and our body are on a journey together. So let's stop and allow ourselves to hear the music of this beautiful soul that we were blessed with. And I want to end off with a little message, I guess, that I was thinking. You know, it was a beautiful course that we've had this
It
year.
really
And of
was.
course, learning Torah, that's amazing. But I always say we have to learn, but then we have to have something that goes with action, right? We have to do something about it. It was so special. It was so beautiful. Let's do something about it. We got to take the message home. So I had an idea. So there was a website that was created in honor, this past year was the Rebbe's, Lubavitcher Rebbe's 120th birthday. And so they created a website. So many of you have seen it. It's actually a fundraising platform where I'm sure many of you, when we did our end of year fundraising thing over Hanukkah, the end of the year, you saw it. They took that fundraising platform, but they're not raising money. They're raising mitzvot.
That's good.
They're raising mitzvot in honor of the Rebbe's 120th year, and people made teams. My team is going to do 100 mitzvahs. My team is going to do 200 mitzvahs. My team is going to do 50 mitzvahs. So I was thinking, wouldn't it be nice if our team, our Rosh Chodesh Society team, created a team, and we can pledge to do 50 mitzvot over the next few months? What do you think, ladies?
I'd love it.
It could be you doing it. It could be someone you encourage. It could be a husband. It could be a child. It could be a friend. It could be anyone that you encourage to do a mitzvah. You light Shabbat candles, boom, that's 1. You light it the next week, boom, that's 2. You learn something, boom, that's 3. You give charity, boom, that's 4. You visit a friend who's sick, you got 5. We should be able to surpass our goal. We have, I think it's over the year, so we have a while. So at the end, So at the end, so I'm going to, in the next few days, I'm going to be sending out an email, and I guess I'll send out a WhatsApp as well. And I will send also asking you if you'd like to share your birthday, so I can email you a birthday certificate. And I'm also going to be sharing the link I created. I called Rosh Chodesh Society Hollywood, Florida Division. I created the website, the team on the page, and I hope that you can all join us as a collective group. I think that would be so special to take this beautiful course that we've learned and kind of push it into real life. And yes, I believe that wraps up lesson number 7. Does anybody have any questions, comments? The floor is open, in person and on Zoom. Did you learn something? I would love to hear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Leslie, what was that? Go ahead.
I wanted to say thank you very much. It was truly inspirational. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shane. It was a great class.
Nice to see your face, Sharna. Thank you.
Such a warm learning
Ask-
experience.
Yeah.
It's just really fun and
Oh,
just
yeah.
beautiful.
Thank you very
Very
much.
nice atmosphere.
Thank you.
Thanks,
All right.
Shayna. Looking
All right,
forward for the
ladies.
next one.
Yes, so I will be in touch when the next one comes out, and I hope all of you will join and bring your friends. Go ahead, Leslie. You're muted though.
If you could please send me a copy of that song. It was
Yes, I will send the link as well. It is a beautiful song.
thank you.
All right, ladies, have yourselves a wonderful day. Happy Lag BaOmer and a Shabbat Shalom. And let's be in touch.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you,
everyone.
Shayna.